Berenstain or Berenstain Bears? This may seem like some sort of oversight, but it's not. The strangeness of the reality in which we live throws us a clue every now and again as to what is happening around us, and it would appear that the Mandela effect is a very real phenomenon. When was Berenstain changed to Berenstain? It wasn't. It always has been Berenstain, but that's not right. Who else could have swore it was Berenstain Bears? Isn't this astonishing? Who is trying to rewrite memories to suit the present? This phenomenon is striking at our imagination in the context that reality is some sort of controlled matrix in which historical events are changed, sometimes deliberately, like the death of Nelson Mandela, which never actually happened, or very small mistakes like a spelling error. Problem is, however, that humans have a vast memory, and these subtle changes are opening our consciousness to the reality that the place in which we exist is some sort of experiment. Wait till you hear this. The condition which we call Mandela effect comes from Nelson Mandela. Still being alive at a time when millions thought he was already dead, it is as if we lived through an historical event only for it to be erased from history completely, and a different reality where he was still alive played out, and we remembered the previous event. There is at least one passage in a South African history book confirming that Nelson Mandela did die about a year and a half after he was released from prison on February 11th, 1990. The quote from the book says that the chaos that erupted in the ranks of the ANC when Nelson Mandela died on the 23rd of July, 1991, about the January 29th, 1991 Inkatha ANC peace accord, to nothing. It would be one thing for an author to be mistaken about someone's death, but would any South African author make such an error about the most famous man in the country? And would the editor of this professional journal not catch such a huge, embarrassing mistake in the publication? These examples are not secluded. The famous song, "I'm Sorry, Miss Jackson," was documented by college students in the early 1990s, only for them to be confuddled years later when they noticed an apparent release date being in the year 2000. These students claim that they would joke about the song saying, "Forever, ever?" When someone mentioned the word forever, and sometimes would sing the falsetto, "I am for real," when trying to convey sincerity. There is also the case for Shirley Temple dying young and not aged 85. Looney Tunes was actually Looney Tunes, and believe it or not, even the line "Mirror, mirror on the wall" from Snow White has incredibly never been "Mirror, mirror." Instead, it is "Magic mirror on the wall," and apparently always has been. Is it really possible that we are experiencing different realities? Collectively, we can all think of small changes that we were convinced of in the past that was real, only to learn differently and be totally stunned by it. Are these signs, echoes, or just human imagination running wild? There are anomalies that are occurring in reality and in our minds that we can't fully understand. A subcategory that almost goes unnoticed, but not just slipping past us unnoticed, just enough for us to realize a small change. Of course, we will be told that we are generating false memories, that it is a psychological phenomenon where a person recalls something that did not happen or differently from the way it happened. This phenomenon was initially investigated by psychological pioneers Perry A. Janet and Sigmund Freud. Freud wrote The Etiology of Hysteria, where he discussed repressed memories of childhood trauma in their relation to hysteria. Elizabeth Loftus has, since her debuting research project in 1974, been a lead researcher in memory recovery and false memories. Suggestibility, activation of associated information, the incorporation of misinformation, and source misattribution have been suggested to be several mechanisms underlying a variety of types of false memory phenomenon. According to paranormal researcher Fiona Broom, the Mandela effect occurs whenever a vivid personal memory is found to conflict with the historical record. Broom recalls TV reports that Nelson Mandela had died in prison. Naturally, she was surprised to learn of his release and election as president of South Africa in 1994. When she shared this experience with friends at DragonCon, she learned that others had had similar false memories. Broom believes memories that are out of sync with recorded history occur because our minds get entangled with alternate universes. According to the many worlds hypothesis proposed, the world splits into parallel universes every time a quantum event happens. While Nelson Mandela did not die in prison, at least in this universe, there is some other universe in which this did occur. Could this memory of the event be proof that her mind had come into contact with the alternate universe? Similar questions were raised when Frasier actor John Mahoney died in 2018. There was a lot of people scratching their heads thinking he had died previously. We would love to hear from you guys on this subject. Of course, it is a wandering question with answers that could stretch our imagination to the breaking point. But what is actually going on? In Egypt, the mysterious Benben stone leave no apparent mark in history. It is as if they have showed up out of nowhere. And the story that goes with the stones is that this pyramid stone came to Earth, landed, and the god Atum walked out. There is a far out there theory that this is related to time travel, and indeed, that a futuristic user of the Project Looking Glass traveled back to dynastic times of Egypt and in turn caused a Mandela effect ripple that has inadvertently hindered our understanding in the present day, and indeed confused everything into a mixed up state of being. But of course, this is just a theory. But are the stone boxes at Elephantine Island reproductions of the machines that were witnessed? Do you have any Mandela effect type memories? Comments below, and as always, thank you for watching.
In outer space, the WMAP, that has forced us to rewrite all the textbooks on cosmology. We physicists thought we knew it all, that the universe is made out of atoms. The old picture was that the universe is some kind of soap bubble. This is a picture given to us by Albert Einstein. And the soap bubble, well, it's expanding slowly, but it's slowing down. And we're like flies trapped on fly paper. We can't leave our soap bubble. That's the old picture. The WMAP satellite has forced us to throw out all this and introduce a whole new set of facts. First of all, the soap bubble is not slowing down. It is speeding up. It is out of control. It's expanding so rapidly that it could force a premature death of the universe. But this is the real killer now. This is what's causing so much excitement in the world of physics. We now believe there could be other soap bubbles out there in other universes, that the old concept of a universe, a one universe, is being replaced by a multiverse, and satellite data is leading the way. Now, we could be on the cusp of a new Copernican revolution. Copernicus introduced the idea that the Earth is not the center of all there is, that the sun was the center of the solar system. In this new Copernican revolution, our universe is not necessarily the only game in town. That there could be other soap bubbles, that soap bubbles can fission in half, like bud, sprout baby soap bubbles.
Baby universes.
Baby universes. That's right. And Stephen Hawking has even written about these baby universes. What would they be like if we met one of these baby universes? For example, when I was a child, I used to go to Sunday school and learn in the Presbyterian Church all about the moment of Genesis. And it was such a thrilling story, this man saying, "Let there be light." But you know, my parents are Buddhists, and in Buddhism, there is no Genesis. There's nirvana. Nirvana is timeless. There's no beginning, and there's no end. So for all these years, I had these two mutually exclusive ideas in my head. And how can I reconcile these? Well, now I'm a physicist at the cutting edge of something called string theory, which we can talk about later. But now I realize that the multiverse idea gives this wonderful blend, this melding of these two religious thinking, that Genesis takes place continually in an ocean of nirvana. That these bubbles are sprouting out of nirvana, and this nirvana is something we call 11-dimensional hyperspace. It is a much larger space that our soap bubble is expanding into. And so we have a beautiful melding of a timeless nirvana giving birth to multiple Genesises.